Professor Wang, I understand you also learned from the late Joseph Greenberg.
Yes.
As he's no longer with us, I wonder if you could share some memories of learning from him, and maybe tell Sarah how he influenced your work.
Greenberg was another major influence on my thinking. It was quite amusing how I first met him. I was a freshman at Columbia College, and Greenberg was a young lecturer who just returned recently from Africa. And you know, in Ivy League universities, typically things are a little bit more formal, and instructors come typically with a tie, and much more structured than I later found out Berkeley to be. Once I took a course from Greenberg, and during the first class, instead of a regular class of 20, 30 students, there were maybe 5 or 6 of us. And we waited there, and 20 minutes past the hour, this young man with very disheveled look came in with a huge batch of handouts, kind of rushed into the room, and that was Greenberg. And he had completely overestimated the class, both in size and ability, because the handout was a problem for reconstruction of some African languages that we've never heard of. But it shows how completely absorbed he was in his work. And I enjoyed that class, even though I found it very hard, because he would wander off into the depth of his own thinking and lose the students periodically. And later on, I had the good fortune of being close to him, because when I moved to Berkeley, he has already moved to Stanford, and we were only an hour away. And I would drive down to visit him. Did you know that Greenberg is a concert quality pianist? Mm-hmm. Right. And sometimes after dinner, he would sit at the piano and entertain us with some beautiful sonatas. And quite often we would go to the Stanford Faculty Club. And I think that I really wanted to have his approval of my work. And I remember once I published something in IJAL, International Journal of American Linguistics, about tones. And the last part of the paper dealt with a tone Sunday phenomenon in Chaozhou, which I understand is Virginia's early language. And it was a very interesting phonological phenomenon, because there are 5 long tones, 2 short tones we put aside. The 5 long tones in the Sunday position chased each other around like in a circle. So this was sometimes called the Min tone circle. And I was very proud in coming up with an elegant, simple rule to describe this tone circle. And bursting with pride, I showed this to Greenberg. I scratched on the napkins in the faculty club at Stanford. And Greenberg listened very patiently, and then he said, and then? And so, and I was flabbergasted, because it seems, the achievement is right there in front of him. But Greenberg was asking a deeper question. He says, you've shown me a clever trick with a formalism. What do I learn about the nature of language? What do I learn about the nature of men with this clever trick? And, I went home frustrated and thought, and I realized how extremely right he was, and how excessive abstraction, excessive formalism, removing us from the empirical foundations of language, is leading linguistics down a wrong track. And on my next trip, I told Greenberg that I understood his question, and he was glad.
Both Zhao Yanren and Joseph Greenberg were two towering figures in linguistics, and I'm interested to hear your view on the lasting legacies. What do you think really, from what they did and the perspectives on language? What have we learned from them?
Well, I think from both of them, there's a very clear message that language is not just an autonomous system, but it's embedded in culture, it's embedded in human civilization, human cognition. Zhao, as we said, got his degree in mathematical physics. Greenberg got his degree from Northwestern University in anthropology. And they both brought to the study of language a very interesting and useful perspective. Another giant figure that I had the good fortune of being close to is a population geneticist. His name is Luca Luigi Cavalli Sforza. It took me a long time just to remember that name.
You said it beautifully.
Once somebody called a meeting at Berkeley, somebody who wanted to put together a book, and Cavalli was invited up there to write a chapter on human genetics, and my assignment was to write about language. That book never came to fruition, but Luca and I became very good friends, and we would visit each other. I would drive down, he would drive out, and he made me realize that understanding human prehistory can be very important toward understanding language prehistory. And the origin of human behaviors can shed a lot of light on the origin of language, and conversely. Of these three giants in my life, Luca is still alive and well. And some of us put together a package applying for an honorary academicianship, if there's such a word. And the Academia Sinica, 中央研究院, approved our application. And Luca will probably come to Taiwan this summer to be among the very first batch of honorary academicians of 中央研究院. And we're very happy about
That's
that.
wonderful.